Okay, getting ready to stream. Okay, welcome to the December edition of the Baltimore SharePoint Users Group. I am Shadidi Laser, and let's go into the announcements for this month before we bring on our featured speaker for the evening. Okay, so let's close that out. Okay, so we talk about the Baltimore SharePoint Users Group story. Once upon a time in July of 2007, we set out to answer questions as we were a company that took on the mission of early adoption of then MOS 2007. And so at the time, there were not, tech net in this large community that we enjoy today. So user groups and some code camps were the way that information was dispersed and problems were solved. And so we set out to build a community, a knowledge network around Office SharePoint Server. And the rest, as you say, is history. Every single month since that time, we have hosted a monthly meeting through pandemics and all. We have been around. And so we are currently meeting virtually, but we will look to return in person at some point, especially with our annual conference. So when we talk about Baltimore SharePoint and some of the highlights of us as a group, we are Maryland's longest running Microsoft focused community learning institution. When you run numbers, over 4,500 Microsoft professionals have been trained and certified through resources through the group. In 21, it's actually 24 Microsoft practices have started within our membership, whether a member was laid off from a company and met other members and decided to start a company, or someone was an independent or a senior professional and then decided to go independent and become successful. There are many successful or success stories within the group that I'm proud to share. I always like to see when a company launches and then they even come back and become, let's say, gold and platinum sponsors of our annual conference. That's always a full circle moment for me. And to have, let's say, co-founded this group and it still exists today, and to see all the different Microsoft MVPs and community leaders and senior leadership and CTOs, CIOs, CEOs is something I'm extremely proud of. So hats off to you within the community for helping this community continue to go. Special thanks to ProObject. ProObject has been a long time in-person meeting space for the group. Special thanks to Ted Staley, who for many years has stayed after work in order to make sure that the building was open, take care of all logistics as far as connecting to the projector, Wi-Fi, you name it. And so ProObject has supported us through our transition into virtual meetings. And when we return in person, we are looking to come back to ProObject. If you are looking for work at this time, the email for you to access is tmstaley@proobject.com. That's Ted Staley. and it'll take good care of you. Tell them I sent you, or Beast Bug, by the way. So moving along, um, especially as we are, let's say, post uh, COVID, there in our region, meaning Maryland, DC, Virginia, where this group is based. There was a lot of transition previously. Federal work would be considered the most consistent, but with COVID especially and transitioning out of that, and with government shutdown looming in some cases, there's always conversation about the next steps career wise. What do I do? So on and so forth. So, in addition to sessions such as this tonight, where Rachel will go into the ins and outs of Copilot and otherwise, we always want to provide a career learning center. And in 2024, we're going to build upon that. January is typically our quote unquote State of the Union meeting. And so we'll go into deeper details for that in 2024, the January meeting. So in terms of community news and events, the Azure OpenAI Chat GPT Fest 2024 will be coming up in late January. And so that'll be in MTC Reston. So and then also the return of Microsoft 365 Saturday, formerly known as SharePoint Saturday DC, will be coming February the 10th. And that has been a flagship event for our market and region. So I highly encourage that you attend both. I would definitely be at the OpenAI event in late January. Um, in February, going to look to attend M365 Saturday DC as well. But for you who may be looking for, let's say, additional training and learning, I highly encourage that you attend. Now, for the value of community as a whole. If you are, let's say, a practice owner, let's take since Tom Carpe is here with Liquid Mercury. He has told me this that you know community events are let's call it a great way for a small group of team members to receive training. It builds cohesiveness. You can find new peers to connect with to share resources and information. And anytime that you're able to um, gain a leg up, meaning when the Monday morning meeting comes around and there's a problem, a technical problem that comes up, and you're able to share a vendor, a break fix solution, so on and so forth, or a direct resource to help solve problems at work, you become more valuable to the team in your organization. So, um, Baltimore SharePoint is one such institution, but community events are also a great resource for you to continue to push forward and continue to accelerate that learning curve. And so I highly recommend that you attend within your schedule and bandwidth. So, and you can find this information on the communitydays.org website. Communitydays.org is essentially the new SharePoint Saturday. So stay tuned. Now, call for speakers. I'm finalizing the lineup for featured presentations um, for 2024. And so if you are a technical leader and you like to share your experiences with the group, now is the time to throw your hat into the ring and submit a session, or at least the title and description. And so it ranges from technical deep dive, break fix, lessons learned. You do not have to submit a 45-minute feature presentation. You can let's say, submit a 10 or 15-minute walkthrough of what you're doing within your current position. So, and also I will provide an additional perspective since I've seen all the presentations for this group since 2007. I have a pretty good idea of what will work and what will not work. So I'm here to help. And so you can email me directly with your session details. First preference will go to speakers who have, let's say, delivered sessions over the years at our events and our user group meetings. It's a great way for you to, let's say, test and see what will work for the larger conferences as well for the more experienced speakers. Moving along. And yes, there will be a M365 Baltimore live event in person. Uh, the band is getting back together. So stay tuned on dates and announcements related to that. And I think we'll stick with our typical months that have done well for us as we transition. So just stay tuned for that. And now, without further ado, Rachel will be discussing the Microsoft Copilot, going to Power Apps integration, so on and so forth. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to bring our featured speaker to the stage. Thank you for joining us this evening, Rachel. Now, few ground rules here. I'm working for you this evening, meaning I'm going to be in the background answering the chats. So when questions come up, so on and so forth, I will, raise my hand a bit and so that the questions that are asked will be answered, and we'll go from there. So the Q&A will be active. And before we begin, thank you to Alan, Bissy, Chandra, Dong, John, Juan, Karen, the great Scott Brewster, Sherry, and Tom for joining. And this replay will go out again, but also will be part of our instant vintage where we replay popular sessions. I know I'm saying in advance that this will be a great session. And so I'm going to move out the way here and
Okay.
put you on featured here.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
So,
welcome.
yeah, thank you very much, Shadid. And I'm happy to be here. And I'm just going to go directly and share my screen. So, should. And let me know when you see my screen.
I can see it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, think. Okay. So, hi everyone. My name is Rachel Irabor. I'm from Nigeria, but I currently live in Malta. I'm working as a Microsoft Power Platform developer, a Dynamics 365 CRM developer, and also a Power Platform trainer. I love cats, and I also love attending community events and conferences, and I also love traveling. And today, like Shadid said, we're going to be talking about an introduction to Copilot in Microsoft Dataverse and Microsoft Power Apps. I'm aware that most of us we're aware about Copilot in Microsoft Power Apps, but there are some things that you can do in Microsoft Dataverse that most persons are not aware of, and we're going to be talking about it today. And the agenda for today is to understand first what is Copilot, because I think there are some misconception about what Copilot is and what Copilot can do for different businesses and organizations. We are also going to be talking about security in Copilot. And there's one thing I believe in is that before talking about a particular feature or discussing about what a platform can do, you need to understand the basics of that platform. Like, what is it? What are the different types? Different things like that. And then before we are going to be moving into how Copilot works in Microsoft Dataverse, yeah, I'm very very happy to show you this because I don't know if you are aware of this, but we have a feature in Microsoft Dataverse which came in recently, and it's on upload an Excel file. You get to upload an Excel file directly to Microsoft Dataverse, which is absolutely amazing. But I'm going to be showing you how Copilot works in that particular feature, where I'm going to be showing you a demo. And I'm also going to be showing you how you can use prompting to create Dataverse tables in where you can use prompting to create tables in Microsoft Dataverse. And I recently wrote a blog post on it. And after this presentation, I'm going to share the link to the blog post. Another topic we're going to be talking about this morning, because it's morning here already, we're going to be talking about what is Microsoft Power Apps and also talking about how Copilot works in Microsoft Power Apps. So when working with Copilots in Microsoft Power Apps and Microsoft Dataverse, there's one thing to notice is that when you're thinking about Copilot, because before building a solution, you have to think about requirements, you have to think about the tools you are going to use, you have to think about so many things before you start building a solution. So when you're thinking about, okay, I want to use Copilot in Power Apps to build my solution, I have to think about this first is that I have right now the only option we have right now is you can only build an app with Copilot using Dataverse. You can only use Microsoft Dataverse. And I'm going to be showing you how that works. So the first thing we're going to be looking at right now is what is Copilot. Like I said, a lot of persons have misconception about what is Copilot, but Copilot is actually there for us to make life easier for us, to make things more, to make to make us more productive. Like things, if I don't know if anybody on this call is familiar with building applications with Power Apps. Maybe, for instance, you are building a Canvas app application. Maybe this is your first time you're hearing about Power Apps, or okay, this is your first time you're hearing about Power Apps. Power Apps is used to build application that people can actually use. And it's actually limited in the sense that you can use it in an organization. I know hopefully there will be new features to allow it to be more to people to have more access to it. But when you are building an application, like when you have Facebook, you can easily just go to your app store or your Play Store, and then you can download Facebook and sign in to your own account. But Power Apps is different in the sense that when you create a solution, you have to share it to people, and they all have to have a particular role, like what they can access in that application. So with Copilot, you can build an application, a Canvas app application that is responsive. Responsive in the sense that you can actually use it on different screens, being it an iPad, a laptop screen, a laptop screen, your plasma, like your TV screen, is going to the size of it is going to change according to the screen without having any issues. So let's go to what Copilot is. So according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it defines Copilot as a qualified pilot who assists or relieves the pilot but is not in command. Because a lot of people have the sense that, okay, with co-pilots coming in, it means that co-pilot is going to take my job. That is definitely not possible because you have to tell co-pilot what to do. And even when you tell co-pilot what to do, it's going to suggest options for you to use, and you're going to be the one to select. So how is Copilot taking your job if you have to give it a command? you have to give it a command to do. You have to give it a command that, okay, I want you to create this table. I want you to create this type of app that collects this certain type of data. Definitely it's not going to take your job because you are the one giving it a command. Let's bring out different examples. We're talking about copilots. On our day to day, maybe you are working on your day to day, you are working on a particular solution or a particular data, and you have questions that, okay, I'm actually working on this solution and I have issues, or I am stuck in a particular problem. I have checked online and I don't have a solution to how to, there's actually no detailed information online on how to solve that particular problem. And I have colleagues or friends who I can reach out to and I can ask them that, okay, hi, Rachel, do you know how to do this? Do you know what I have done wrong here? That is what Copilot is doing for you. Copilot is like a friend you can reach out to tell, okay, can you suggest to me what I can do here? Can you suggest to me how to resolve this particular problem? Or I'm trying to collect this type of data and I don't know what data to collect. Or let me say, for instance, I'm trying to collect data for an auditing company and I don't know what type of data an auditing company will be using. Scenarios like that, that is where Copilot can help you. Okay. So we are going to be talking about security in Copilot because a lot of businesses, when they are thinking about using a particular platform, they first of all think about, okay, how is this platform going to be beneficial to my business? Like, what features can this bring? Or maybe I already have different platforms I'm using already. So, how does this new platform fill in the gap? Like, what advantages is it bringing to me before accepting that particular platform? And another thing they also think about too is security. With me using this particular platform, is my data secure? Is my business data secure? Is my organization's data secure? Because you're not going to tell me that you're using a particular platform and you're not thinking about the security of the platform. You're not thinking about, okay, people having access to my data, people having access to my clients' data. And that's a way, in the sense that people have a lot of misconception too when it comes to security in Copilot. I think everybody on this call here, they have heard about ChatGPT or they are actually using ChatGPT. So when people see Copilot, they look at the way they look at ChatGPT. I think we're going to be talking about that in the next slide. But let's allow Barbie to answer this question about security in Copilot. So there's a link actually on my screen. If you can see at the right side of my screen. I'm going to be sharing the link. It gives a detailed explanation about security in Copilot. So with using Copilot, you don't have to be scared about my data being that my data is not secure, my data is going to leak. Your data is secured. And Azure OpenAI is Microsoft is doing a lot to make sure that everything is going on perfectly well, that your data, everything is secured. Let's go to the next slide. So we have ChatGPT versus Copilot. Like I said, people have this confusion that, okay, I use ChatGPT, and most businesses, they talk to their employees that I don't want you to use I don't want you to use company data for ChatGPT. It's not safe, which is a very good advice not to use ChatGPT for your company data. But you don't have to look at ChatGPT the same. You don't have to look at Microsoft Copilot the same way you look at ChatGPT because they are quite different. They might have a few similarities, but they are actually quite different. Like ChatGPT uses large language model, but is being trained by OpenAI. I don't know. I think everybody here would know about OpenAI, especially with the latest news or happenings that's happened late this year. And also we have Copilot itself. Copilot also uses LLM, which is a large language model, but is being powered by Azure OpenAI. That is where the difference comes in, because Copilot is like, if you can see on my screen, I know the color I'm using is not really great, but if you can see on my screen is that Copilot is designed from the ground up on a foundation of enterprise grade security, compliance, and privacy. So they are quite different. They might be using LLM, but they are quite different when it comes to your data. So, like I said, when talking about a particular feature, you actually need to understand what that platform is and what you can do with that particular platform. So, the first thing we're going to be looking at this morning, evening, is going to be on Microsoft Dataverse. Like, what is Microsoft Dataverse? So, a lot of persons think that, okay, Microsoft Dataverse is a cloud database, but Microsoft Dataverse is more than a cloud database, because a cloud database that you can easily manage the data, you can create security roles, you can assign users, you can do so many things, you can model your data, you can create relationships between tables. It's really, really amazing. And you also get to, like, you create tables, you get to create columns, you get to create rows, and you get to do so many things with Microsoft Dataverse. And you can actually go through my screen to read a bit what Microsoft Dataverse is. And I'm going to go to the next screen, where we are going to be talking about Copilot in Microsoft Dataverse. So I'm just going to go ahead to my own. I'm going to close this. I'm going to my main screen. Okay. So Microsoft has been doing a lot towards Copilot. If you are using Power Automate, which you use for automating workflows and businesses, like things that you have to do manually, tasks that you have to do manually, you get to use Power Automate to automate them. So Microsoft is doing a lot towards Copilot in Power Platform. And we have the Power Apps. Okay, we have the Power Apps. If you see on this environment, this is an enabled, in this environment, Copilot is enabled in this environment. And if you look at this other environment, it is different, because here we have let's build an app. What should it do? So this is Copilot, where you are using everyday words to describe what your app should track, list, or manage, which is your prompting. And yeah, we have nothing like that here. So if you can see for this from this screen, this is not an enabled Copilot environment. And I'm going to show you first how to change that. So if you come to your admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com and you go to environments, so let's check the one that has Copilot enabled. After clicking on that particular environment, you go to settings, you click on the drop down on products, then you go to features. After going to features, you're going to see it here, Copilot. It is enabled. So I'm just going to switch that off, scroll down and save. So let's come back here and check what happens. Let's refresh. Okay. So you can see we no longer have Copilot enabled in this environment. And that was because we disabled it. So let's go back there and enable it. Okay. And we scroll down and save. So you might ask, what is Copilot in Microsoft Dataverse? So let's go to tables for Microsoft Dataverse. So you might ask, what is Copilot in Microsoft Dataverse? So Copilot in Microsoft Dataverse gives you the ability to be able to create tables. You are able to create tables, you're able to create data types, you're able to collect data. It also creates sample data for you. Like maybe, for instance, you want to create a data for a fashion company in order to track their sales, to track what is happening in the company. It can Copilot with your prompting language can actually create that table for you and also create sample data with the table. And if you do not want the sample data, you can easily tell Copilot to delete the sample data using prompting. And what is prompting? Prompting is like an act, you are telling somebody to do an action. Like I'm like, okay, Rachel, can you go and get that water for me? Or Rachel, can you get me that cup? You're trying to tell a person a thing to do. You're trying to tell the person to do something. So that is what prompting is. And the great thing about prompting is that you don't have to use programming languages to use prompting. You just have to use a clear, precise word to tell Copilot what to do. Like if you can see from this particular point, you can see here we have that use your everyday words to describe what your app should collect, track, list, or manage. And you can see examples they gave at the top here. We have collect ROSVPs, track sales lead, list inventory, manage inspections. So if you can see from this, all these examples given here, excuse, there's no programming language. Yeah, everything here is just your normal everyday language. So I'm going to come back to tables and I'm going to show you on Microsoft Dataverse. So let's do something here. I want to show you the differences of what you can see. So like we mentioned, we have this particular environment right now, and this environment has Copilot enabled, and this other environment does not have Copilot enabled. So the first thing we're going to be looking at, the first feature we're going to be looking at on Copilot is uploading an Excel file. Most persons might look at the feature uploading an Excel file like, okay, what is Copilot actually doing there if I just have to upload my Excel file? So we're going to be looking at that on how Copilot works in this particular feature. But first, if you see this environment here, we have described the new table. Like if you see the middle of this place here, we have described the new table. We have upload an Excel file. We have starts with a blank table, and we also have create a visual table. So this describe the new table is actually letting you, is actually the main feature for Copilot. You will know that okay, this particular environment actually has Copilot, because if you come to this other environment, you can see that that particular feature does not exist here because Copilot is not enabled in this environment. So that is the reason why I just want to point it out to you in case maybe you are looking at your own environment right now or on Power Apps and you're like, okay, I'm not seeing what she's saying. So that is the reason why it's like that. And you can see we also have upload an Excel file here and the same thing with this place. Okay, so let's try it now and see how it works like. So if I click on upload an Excel file, you can either drag your Excel file to this place or you can just select it from your device. So let's get it from our device. Okay, so I'm going to be using a sample data. So I just uploaded it. I'll just wait a bit for it. So it's loading on the background. So if you can see, so this is our data from the Excel. So now you don't have to think about, okay, you're thinking of, okay, how I have an Excel file and I want to move it to, I have an Excel file and I want to move it to Dataverse. How can I do that? You can easily use the upload an Excel file feature and upload your Excel directly to Dataverse. But let's see how this works. If you can see right now, if you noticed when I was uploading that Excel file, the name was employee sample data record. That was the name. And now if you see the table, if you see this part, the naming of this table right now is called employee information. And the reason for this naming is that Copilot has been able to read our Excel file. That's running it did. Copilot has been able to read our Excel file to try to understand what this particular Excel file, what is it, what data is in it, and what data was collected. So you can see it has been able to understand that the Excel file is an employee information. And there's also something I checked. I actually checked with different Excel file. You can also check from your end. You can check with different Excel files and see how Copilot is going to notice what particular data is inside of that inside of that Excel file. And if you click on the edit icon, you can see that it gives it a description. So what is the description here? It says that this table contains information about employees in a company. So you can see what it says. Copilot does not know what type of company, because the from the data collected is not really specified what type of company this is, because it's just like general data where you are collecting annual salary, bonus, country, city, hire dates, gender, business unit. So it's telling that this is type of data. This data is the data of employees in a company. And let me show you one thing before we move to the next step. Let's try uploading an Excel file with an on a disabled Copilot environment. So let's click on this and let's get that same Excel file here. Okay. Let's wait for it to run. So you can see this is different. On this particular place here, we do not have any naming for it. It is just name table, because this particular feature does not have Copilot enabled in it, and it does not understand what type of data you are trying to collect. So it just names it table for you, where you are able to edit it, and there's also nothing on the table description. So you have to add your table description yourself. So I just wanted to see the difference between those two features and understand what is happening there, and how Copilot actually comes into the uploading an Excel feature. So let's come back to this particular place. So if you can see, we have our different columns here, and they are all different data types. So if you can see, this is a single line of text. Full name also is a single line of text, job title, department. So if you can see the differences between these different columns is that Copilot does not understand that this job title is a choice column, because if you can see this department, it gave it a choice column, it gave business unit a choice column, gender a choice column, ethnicity a choice column, age a whole number, it gave hire date a date data type, annual salary, it gave it, let's check, a currency data type, bonus, it gave it a decimal, it gave it a decimal data type, and also country. It also gave country. It noticed the consistency in the data, and it gave it a choice column. It noticed that, okay, this is the particular data that was chosen, which is between United States and China, and also the city. It did not really understand, okay, since they are getting data from China and also from they are getting data from China or United States, I don't really know which particular city they want to write. So this has to be like a single line of text. Then you also have your exit date, which is your date type. So if I come to this place and I say, okay, I want to make changes to this, I want to change the job title from a single line of text to a choice column, I can easily make changes to it. So I can come to this place, I can choose choice, and you can see it automatically changes. All these data that are here are picked up and added to the choice. So I don't have to come here and add each one of them manually, where I have to say, okay, senior manager, senior analyst, technical, you understand? So it picks everything for you, And you can also make it required. You can make it, you can select a default choice if you want to, and you can also go to advanced options and make any changes you want. So let's click on update. And you can see that is changed into a choice column. So you can also make changes to row ownership. You can also make changes to your edit table properties. So I just want to show you all of this in order to know how the second step works, like the where Copilot really is in Microsoft Dataverse, so that you can see the differences between them. And you can see at the left hand side of the screen, we have Copilot, where Copilot is telling you that the name, the table name, description, and data type were generated by Copilot AI. So if you feel that the column headers weren't detected, or if there's anything that you do not like, that you think there has been a mistake on this, you can easily just drop your feedback on the side of the screen. And this other part of it, the upper part of the left-hand side, this is normal. It actually still works the same way for the non-enabled Copilot environment. It just tells you how many rows here and how many columns we have. So let's go to the next step so that we don't waste too much time. Okay. I just want to create a table for you so that you see how it looks like. Okay. So you can see this is our Dataverse table. I think it's still coming up. Yep. So this is our Dataverse table and our data. Okay, so let's go to the next step of Copilot in Dataverse. So you can see how Copilot is in Dataverse. So in this particular other feature, which is a describe the new table, this is prompting. We're not going to be doing any editing. Anything we're going to be doing here is everything is just prompting. You want to change data type, you want to delete, you want to add columns, you want to create your new table. You have to ask Copilot what you want, and you have to make sure that your explanation is easy to understand. So let's click on describe the new table. So this is Copilot chats at your sorry. This is Copilot chat at your right hand side of your screen. Then at the left hand side of your screen is telling you how you can build at your table. It's making suggestions of what you can use. Add a column for, add a row for, remove the row, change the data type, refresh the data, give me suggestions. So you can see different ways you can use Copilot. So let's check on how it works like. Create an auditing, an audit employee, company table. Okay, let's try that data table. Let's wait for it. So it, if you can see, it has responded to me that here is a table for audit employee company data. And if you can see what I asked it to create an audit employee company data table for me. So if you can see on my screen, I have columns, employee ID, employee name, department, and also positions, which is manager, assistant, developer, coordinator, and representative. I think this is not a little bit straightforward a bit, but let's work on it and see how we can go around it. So we have our audit employee company. Let's see what the name is. So you can see it's what I asked for, that it gave the name of the, that's the naming of the table. So you can see the naming of the table is audit employee company data, and I cannot make changes to any of it. I cannot go to the table and edit the name. I cannot edit the description. You can see the description is already added there for me based on what I asked it. The description here is this table contains a record of audit employee company data. And also on the advanced option, I can also cannot make changes to it, because anything I do, I have to use prompts for it. So let's try something else. Let's delete the table. Delete the table. Okay. So you can see the table has been deleted. So it said the audit employee company data table has been removed successfully. If you cannot do that, you can also click on restart conversation to also do that. And there's one thing to notice about the limitation of Copilot in Dataverse right now, is that Copilot You cannot, because I think a lot of persons have this question like, okay, can I create relationships between tables with Copilot? That is actually not available right now. You can only work with one table when working directly with Copilot, or maybe later you want to create a relationship, but you cannot use Copilot you cannot use prompting to ask Copilot to create the relationship for you. Okay, so let's create it again. Create an audit company. Make an auditing company app. Make an auditing company application. Let's try that too. And I'll also be sharing a link to I have a podcast where I talk about Microsoft technology. Recently, I spoke with Davey, where we spoke about generative AI and co-pilots in Power Platform. So I'll be sharing a link to the video. If you're interested, you can go through it. So if you can see, this is different now. I just want to show you how it looks like. So everything that's happening, it just depends on what you say. So if you can see here, we have auditing company application. We have the description. This table contains a record of auditing company information. So if you can see, this data that is collecting right now is different. It's saying that the company ID, company name, it's saying the address, contact number, and the email addresses. So you see it's different. Now it's not collecting data for an employee, but it's collecting data for different auditing companies. So that is what is happening here. So it's what you say to what I just want to point out, I'm just trying to show you is that it's what you say to the co-pilot, that is what is going to produce for you. What you want it to do, that is what is going to happen. Okay, so let's try. I think all these data are well aligned. Wanted to make changes. Let's try adding a column to this and see, is there anybody have any idea of any data you think we should collect on this table so that we can ask Copilot for it?
Type
A
your
table.
suggestions in the Q&A. Type your suggestions in the Q&A.
If you have any suggestions of data you think this table can collect, so that I can show you how you can add columns, how you can also remove columns.
Number of
Okay.
employees.
Okay.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you. Okay. Number of. I'm going to. You are going to what I'm going to do. Add a column.
Rachel, another suggestion from John is the geographic position or geolocation.
Okay. 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 Let's try this. Add a column number of employees, and let's see how that works. So if you can see, it said it has responded. The auditing company application table has been updated. So if I move to the right, you can see it has been added. And Copilot has understood that this is a whole number column, a whole number data type of column. So that is why it's like this. So if anybody can give me an example of a column that of a column that Copilot can mistake as a single line of text instead of a choice. I want to show you how that works. And if you can give me the last idea that was talked about, geo what? Hi. If you
Yes,
can give me
the
yeah,
second
geolocation.
suggestion, yes, geolocation.
Okay, let's see how that works. How colon geolocation. Okay. And there's one thing you can also do too is that if you can see right now, Copilot is adding these columns at the right hand side. You can also direct Copilot that okay, I want this particular new column at the left hand side instead of the right hand side. And let us check what happened at the geolocation. So if you can see the address here, we have New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Texas, Miami. And if you go to this particular place, you can see that Copilot was able to pick it up from the address. That is the all these things you are seeing here are sample data, and you can delete them if you want to. And do we have any last idea of something that Copilot can mistake for a single line of text?
Uh, Julian date.
Is that
Julian date. Well, I'm going through the
okay?
comments. It was try making the geolocation column title all one word.
Okay, sorry. Let's try that. Excuse.
And we
Change.
also have a question or comment here. This is my first time seeing this, and I'm not a technical resource. Question is, what benefit is this compared to creating a regular database and defining the columns as all of the data is made up? Do you eventually, let's say in a real world scenario, upload actual data?
Okay, I think the question. Let me start. I think the question is a lot together. Let me start from. Let me build it up. The answers. So, if you can say what is the benefits of copilots, like maybe for instance, a lot of persons, maybe you might be writing a blog post or you have a presentation, and you are thinking about where can I get sample data? Maybe I don't want to get them online. You can actually create them here. Instead of like, if you notice, I brought in a sample data into Dataverse with using Excel. So I can actually create my sample data here instead of just I can tell Copilot that I want more sample data and that will be added for me. And I think another advantage is that I think I should direct it more into Power Apps is that when you are creating I'm going to be showing you how to do that. When you are creating a Power Apps application and you are trying to use Copilot for it, I mentioned from the beginning that you cannot, right now, you can only use Dataverse. Like after creating all of this, you click on create. The next thing is going to do for you, that is for Power Apps application. The next thing is going to do for you is to create an application, a one screen application. I think last time I checked, a one screen application that is responsive. And if you want to build that on a normal day, it's going to take you a lot of time to build a responsive app to actually make sure that everything is working well. There's no issue. You have to because when you're trying to make an app responsive, it's different from when you're trying to because a lot of persons define Power Apps as a drag and drop but when you're trying to work on responsivity in Power Apps, that's a different ball game. So with working with co-pilots in Power Apps, it makes your app responsive. Or even if you do not even want to use it, you have an idea of how it works. Like you can go to the different properties and like, okay, wow, so what was done here? What did they do here? How is this very responsive? Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. I don't know. Did I answer your question?
I would say move along, and I'll keep checking the Q&A.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Okay, I should just make that change I was asked about. Change geolocation, change the naming, change the naming of the column, geolocation, geolocation to geolocation. That works. Okay, so you can see it worked. Change from being separate to being together, like I mentioned from here, that I wanted to add like that. So you just have to make sure that what you're saying is just direct. Like you're trying to explain to someone who does not know what's it's happening. You can try, you have to actually break down what you are explaining. So that's the way your prompting looks like. If you if I okay, that's why I'm trying to ask for an example of a choice column. But let me try something now. Let's try departments. Let's see what sample data comes in. Add departments. Column departments. Let's change this into okay. Let's see how that works like. Okay, so if we go to our right side, wait. So you can see we have sales, marketing. So it's interpreting this as a single line of text. So let's change this to a let's change data type to a choice. Change column department. Change column department choice. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, that's nice. I was thinking it's going to be like a little bit confused because I wanted to show you something there that I had to actually explain what it was to change. But that is great that it changed it to a choice column. So if we check from this point, you can see the way our upload and Excel feature picked it up. That's the same way it picked it up here. So you can see your sales, HRO, operations. So let's add an example to this place. Let's add an option to our department. Let's say add add finance. We already have finance there. Let me say add developer, add technical person or technical developer. Let's try that instead. Technical developer to department. Okay. So let's see if what we asked it, if it happened. I just want to show you that if you do not really explain, okay, it's what? Okay, that's good because I recently wrote a blog post, meaning Copilot is improving every day. I recently wrote a blog post on where I showed how you can actually make mistakes with Copilot when you do not use the right prompting. But I'm glad it's working well. So I'm just going to go to the next place so that we can continue and move into Power Apps. So one thing you just have to understand from these examples is that is what you just ask Copilot to do. That's what is going to happen. You cannot edit. You cannot add anything to the app manually. You have to, like when you're chatting with someone, that is all you have to do. You just have to explain yourself what you want. You don't have to say, okay, I have to, because it's called Copilot, I have to learn how to code in order to ask Copilot what to do. No, you don't have to code. You can see everything I did now, I did not code. I just asked Copilot what I wanted. So let's try something. Remove the column. Remove the column. Number of employee. Okay, see employees. Let's try that first. Okay, so that was removed. And if I want to delete the sample data, delete the sample data in the table. So you can see that has been deleted because you might just say that, okay, I don't want this sample data, so what am I using them for? So instead of deleting them after creating a table, you can just ask Copilot to delete it for you. So let's click on create so that we can check other things on Power Apps. So now our table has been created for us. So let's go back to our slide and let's talk about Power Apps. Okay, we've already talked about this already, enabling Copilot in our environment. So let's talk about Power Apps. So what is Microsoft Power Apps? So Microsoft Power Apps is a low code, no code tool that is part of the Power Platform ecosystem that allows you to build applications. Like you don't have to. The amazing thing that Microsoft has done is that they have bridged the gap where you don't have to think that okay, I have to be a professional developer to build solution. You you don't have to have professional knowledge of how to code in order to start building application with Power Apps. And when you are a professional developer and you are hearing that okay, Power Apps is a low code, no code tool, and you're like, okay, what do I need this particular platform for when I'm already a professional in building applications? I'm already a professional in coding. So Microsoft has created an opportunity that both developers and non-developers they can build applications with Power Apps. And now, what is Copilot? So, if you can notice, we already had the Copilot screen on Power Apps before, which we're looking at. And what is Copilot in what is Copilot in Power Apps? So it's more like the same explanation. It's more like the same explanation for Dataverse, Copilot in Dataverse. So it allows you to collect data. It allows you to build applications. It allows you to create tables because you have to go from creating a data vast table before going into creating your application. You can, for now, at least for now, you cannot skip creating a table. You have to create a table first before going to Power Apps. And I also wrote a blog post on it, which I'll be sharing so that you can have a link to Copilot in Power Apps. So let's just go to our screen. Let's share it, see how it looks like. So this is our screen here. So if you can see these examples that we have use everyday words to describe what your app should collect, track, list, or manage. And do we have any idea of what application we should build? Anybody want to suggest what app we should build?
I would say for an HR department, let's say a more or less an employees list for a department or division.
Okay. HR. See how
It could
that's
be for onboarding. It could be to track, let's say, employees within a division or department.
okay. Let's try this. Onboarding application. Okay. Let's see how that works. So onboarding application. So Copilot has suggested data for us here, where we have application ID, name, we have email address, we have phone number, and we have date of birth. So Copilot do not understand what type of data you are collecting for your onboarding, maybe applicants or employees, but they have already suggested what they think should be in the table. And if you think that, okay, maybe one of them is not what you want, like let me say, for instance, this date of birth. So you can see, if you notice now, we are on Dataverse table. We already did this already, but this is different. On the below parts, after when you are creating a Dataverse table with Copilot, when you look at this particular place, the down of your right hand side you have create, but now this is different. We have create app. So if I say okay, date of birth, I do not want date of birth, I don't want to use date of birth, date of birth is not what I need, I can say remove the column date of birth. Okay, so you can see that has been removed. And anybody wants to make two suggestions, just two suggestions, so that we can close everything. Anybody wants to make two suggestions on columns they think we should add here? So let me try something. Add more sample data so you can see what happens. Okay. So we
Well,
have,
uh,
yeah, I can,
job title
okay.
for
Job title. Add the column, job title,
and the second would be salary.
salary. Okay. Okay. Let's scroll to this part. So you can see it gave you suggestion. This is also a single line of text because Copilot does not know if you want it to be a choice or a single line of text. And it gave you sample data of what should be there. If you do not want it, you can remember you can easily delete them. And also, we have what other data did you suggest just now?
Salary.
What do you have? Is that salary? Yeah, thank you. Add a column salary. Okay. So you can see it understands that this is a currency data type. So let's go ahead and create the app so that I can show you how it looks like. So let's just click on create app. So you can see it's waiting. It's creating the app at the background for us. And like I pointed out from that question, I'm just going to show you the advantage of using Copilot, how the responsivity works. I just hit repeat for it. Yep. And we are there. So you can see we have Copilot chats at the right hand side. As I said, you actually need to understand what the platform is about. Like you have to understand what is okay. Like now we are seeing suggestions, add a label, add a gallery, add an email screen. If you don't have an idea of what those things are, how are you going to work on it? So you have to have an understanding of what the platform is. So I just want to play the app for you and show you how it looks like. So this is the application, and those are the sample data we were seeing before. So you can see we have application ID, salary, email, job title, we have name and phone number. And you can click on the edit icon. If you want to make changes to it, you can make changes. If you want to change the name, okay, you can save. And you can also add new data to it. So I think this is actually a great opportunity to also learn. Maybe you like the design of how this application is, and you're like, okay, I want to actually build something like this from scratch. So how was this built? You can actually just check on it. You can actually just check on it. You can see the different containers that are being used. You can check on this particular screen. You can check on the form, check on the gallery. You can check on everything on the screen and see what is being used to try to understand what is happening on the screen. So if you can see these different containers on a normal day, if you are building a screen that has containers. So I think one thing I should point out that in Power Apps, we have different types of Power Apps. We have our Canvas application, we have our model-driven apps, and we have our Portals app. So what we are looking right now, it's our Canvas app, where when you are building your Canvas app application, you have to use your Power App Studio. So that is the particular point where we are right now. And Canvas app, it allows you to build your app from scratch. It allows you to design it the way you want your app to look like. But modern driven app is quite different from Canvas app because it's like pre-built for you. So when Like here now we have something like this. It's actually pre-built for you. It's quite different. And modern driven app uses Dataverse, but Canvas app you can connect to different data sources. And we also have Portals app which creates websites for us. And we have from the Portals app, Microsoft has created Power Pages, which is also used to create websites. So let's come back to where we are right now. So if you can see, we have containers on our screen. So on a normal day, if I was trying to build this type of application, it's not going to be this easy for me to just come from Dataverse and it's already built. It's going to take a lot of time in order to build something like this, in order to build just this one screen with these different containers. And then let's check how the responsivity works. So you can see we have tablets, we have phone, and we have browser. So let's check with tablet and see how it looks like. So you can see the changes in them. So you can see any screen I select, the shape of the shape of the design changes. So you can see, let's try this. So it's not that you not think that okay, based on changing screen, some part of it is going to be hidden. Like the app is going to be kind of rough. But you can see I'm using a phone format and everything is still everything is still okay. Even let's change it to something like this. So you can see it's still different, it's changing. So that's the responsivity. That's one of the big advantage for copilots in Power Apps. So you can see that's how it works. And if you want to, you can also edit directly. It's not like Dataverse that you cannot edit directly. You can edit directly you can edit directly here, or you can come directly to Copilot chats and tell it what you want to happen to the app. So I think I've taken a lot of time for the presentation. So thank you so much, everyone, and thank you for listening to me. I'm going to be sharing the link to this blog post where I talked about how to get started with Copilot in Microsoft Dataverse, and also a blog post I also talked about Power Apps, and I'll also be sharing a link to security in Copilot so that you can learn more about how secured your data is with Copilot. So thank you so much.
Yes. One final question. Alan wanted to know, what license are you using for this demo?
Okay, I'm actually using a developer account, like a Microsoft 365 developer account. It's like a free license. Like I'm not paying for it. It's a E5 developer account. Like I don't have to pay for it. And also I've been using it for more than a year now. So it depends on how often you use it. It renews itself every 3 months. So it just depends on how often you use it. I use it to build, I use it to learn, and I also have access to Office 365 application like Outlook. I have access to Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, all for free. I also have SharePoint, Power Platform, yeah, just for practicing and personal projects. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, this has been another great Baltimore SharePoint users group session. Thank you, Rachel, for walking through this great demo. Stay tuned next month as we'll have another featured presentation and we'll go into the State of the Union of what to expect for 2024. On behalf of Rachel, I'm Shadidi Laser. Thank you for tuning in this month. Happy New Year in advance. Happy holidays to you and your family. Thank you, Rachel. Going to be logging off for the evening.
With you, the links I mentioned. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. And
Thank you.
yeah, have a great day. It's already morning here. It's already 2 a.m. already. Yeah, so bye.
Bye.